after this promo. Cassie McCullough. There's Aha with Take On Me, the Norwegian synth pop band that was out in 1984, which is very interesting because we're about to talk about a car that basically was around at a similar time.
To play the quiz, call now. 1300
Don't call now to play the quiz because the quiz was an hour ago. But you can call now if you've got a thing for cars. And here is the thing that I wanted to actually play, which is this.
You're listening to ABC Radio.
Emma Crow is my name, filling in for Sarah McDonald. She did an earlier shift today on the Sydney Drive program, so we thought it was a bit mean to make her do a double shift. So I am here in her place. Now, have you heard of the chicken coop? Not chicken coop, C-O-O-P. Coupe as in C-O-U-P-E, the car. It's the 1973 Ford Falcon XA GT Hardtop Pro 83 manual coupe, to be precise. Yes, I do know what I'm talking about. Stick with me. This is considered to be the best known GT Falcon in Australia and it's up for auction right now. And get this, the reserve price was $150,000. As we went to air earlier tonight, it was already double that. And I think the auction is basically over now. So we're going to find out what this car has gone for. But the funny thing is, it's in a terrible condition. This car is covered in dust. It has a rat poo on the floor. It's had chickens living in it, but it's very sought after. Bill Freeman is the head of classic cars for GraysOnline, and he joins me now. Hi, Bill.
Good evening, Emma.
Good evening. Look, okay, first of all, has it sold?
Absolutely. The car's just been sold. It's gone to a new owner in South Australia with plenty of spirited bidding throughout the campaign.
What did it go for?
About 301. It was $300,909. So just had over 300,000.
Okay. Now, people really need to see this to get a sense of how amazing that price is. Can you describe the condition of this car?
Look, the condition of the car was probably in need of a restoration. It was, rust. It had sat in a shed for 30 odd years, never been started. As you said, there was rat poo and chicken poo and everything throughout the car. But it was a very special car, and that was certainly shown by the amount of viewers and the bid and the results that it achieved.
Tell me about what makes the 1973 Ford Falcon XA GT Hardtop RPO 83 manual coupe so special.
Okay, Emma, the RPO 83 gave it the Phase 4 Falcon option parts, which in the early 70s you may remember the supercar scare, where Sydney Morning Herald reported that 160 miles per hour cars were going to hit the Australian roads.
Yes.
On the back of 4,000 fatalities a year on the with the road toll.
Yep.
The Aussie manufacturers the government went to the Aussie manufacturers and said, if you produce these cars, we won't give you fleet orders. So they had to can the cars that they had in mind for production. But Ford had already manufactured some parts that were going to form part of their Phase 4 race car. And they released the XA was the next model after the XY Falcon, and they quietly released 120 of these hardtop coupes with an RPO 83 option, and that gave it the Phase 4 parts.
Okay, so very rare, 120. And am I right? I think I read only 2 orange ones.
Absolutely. So only 2 in this colour. It was a corporate colour, McRobinson Old Gold. McRobinsons were a chocolate company based in Brisbane, and they made Cherry Ripe and Freddo Frog famous, and then Cadbury's bought them out. So a very, very special car, that one, and a great history.
Bill Freeman's with us. He's the head of classic cars at GraysOnline, and we're talking about this car that's just gone at auction for $909,000. Hasn't actually been driven for 30 years, it still has a rego sticker that says Expo 88 on the rego sticker bill.
Yes, Emma, 88 when it came off the road. World Expo 88 was held in Brisbane and fairly, famous, put Brisbane on the map. So the car went into hibernation then, and unfortunately it was a one-owner car. The gentleman bought it as a demonstrator from a Ford dealer in Brisbane, recently passed away. Everybody in Australia that loved GT Falcons had tried to buy the car over the years, and he refused to sell it.
Was he attached to it? Was it sentimental attachment?
Yes,
Is that why he wouldn't sell? Did he not sell because of sentimental attachment?
Absolutely, yes. Look, he bought the car. It was his wedding car, and he said if he sold the car, a part of him would be gone. So he just refused to sell it.
And you're saying that a lot of people sort of saw this car and they knew about it. Was it somewhere that people could see it as they drove along a particular road or something like that?
Look, it was on the highway halfway between Brisbane and Toowoomba. So as you went through Plainlands, you could see the shed and you could see the front of the car. So, people have told the story that, and the family have said, over the years, hundreds of people have stopped in, spotted the car, had a chat to Gordon, the owner, and he used to humour them, and he loved to chat, but refused to sell it.
Now, I'm talking, like as I said, with Bill Freeman, head of classic cars at GraysOnline. If you have a question for Bill about this car, he's happy to take your call, 1300 222 702. Bill, do we know why he never drove the car?
Oh, look, originally he said that in 1988 insurance premiums skyrocketed. So he took it off the road because of that. Always intended to get it back on the road, but time just got away and it never happened. And then it just became the famous chicken coop car. So, and I think the auction, Emma, shows, we had about 200,000 unique views on the car.
Wow.
So 200,000 individual people looking at the car. What a great story. And I think during COVID, that's a really good result. It probably shows you can't do a traditional auction now because of COVID.
Yeah.
This was all online bidding, so done over the computer.
How many bidders were there? So you said there were 200,000 people looked at it. How many people were bidding?
Oh, look, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there was lots of bids placed on the car.
Yep.
So...
We're talking about this car called the Chicken Coupe that you've just tuned in, a 1973 Ford Falcon XA GT Hardtop RPO 83 manual, to be precise. Now, Bill, obviously this is, an amazing price. What will this South Australian bidder have to do to the car to, restore it, if that's what they're going to do?
Look, that's the million-dollar question. I think most people will just tidy the car up, they will get it running, and they will keep it, obviously give it a wash and a detail, get rid of the rat and chicken smell, but they will keep it in its current form. But as I said, the car, everybody knows the chicken coop car, and they will keep it, I believe. That's certainly what a lot of people that I spoke to were going to do. They wanted to keep it in its current condition and just let the history of the car live on, I guess, with a new custodian, with a new owner.
How excited was this owner to get it? Did you have any communication with them, or do you know much about them, the new owner?
Yeah, look, had plenty of chats with a few people over the time, and they were all sitting back. Nobody knew what the car was going to make. It's such an unknown. You can't compare it to anything else like that, and just because of its the uniqueness, I think that's why it achieved such a good result.
More generally, what are the car models that are fetching a lot of money at the moment?
Still the Aussie muscle cars. Your Falcon, your GT Falcon, your Holden Tirana. They sort of had the race history, and there's certainly a lot of the baby boomers are now retired. They can access their superannuation, and that's really pushed the price up of these cars in the last 5 years.
They really become investments in a world where people are looking for places to put their money. People who are lucky enough to have some money, they're looking for somewhere kind of concrete to invest, art and I guess property. A car would be a similar kind of investment, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And we see a lot of that, we've sold a lot of cars in that range. The GT Falcons, you're paying a couple of $100,000 there. A GTHO Falcon, you're probably paying, $600,000-700,000.
Wow.
So it's quite a substantial amount of money. But I think with the investment, dollars elsewhere not being that attractive, stock market maybe a little bit iffy, it went through a crash with COVID. Not a lot of interest rates are low, so not a lot of return there. People are putting their money into these cars because they've certainly they have been a good investment over the last 5 to 10 years.
You mentioned that the previous owner, Gordon, you said his name was, I think, he didn't drive it because of the insurance premiums. Where do people keep these cars once they buy them? Once you've gone and bought a car for $300,000 and you've cleaned it up, where are you storing it? Locked in a garage somewhere?
Yeah, well, it's certainly look. A lot of people will drive their cars. A lot of people put them in their man cave. A lot of people put them in a shed into a specific compound for cars, and they don't drive them. So if they're for straight investment, that's what they usually do. So it really depends what they want to do, but a lot of people do drive them as well, just to get some pleasure out of their money.
I've got a question here on the text. It says, I used to drive an 81 Corolla. How much do they go for?
Well, has it been in a chicken coop for the last 30 years, or has it been stored inside?
I think not a chicken coop.
Look, all those old cars, whilst not worth $300,000, we sell about 150 to 200 classic cars a month in our classic car auction, and they certainly have a great following. So one, depending on the condition, of course, but the Toyota Corollas are still a very sought after model. So they've got a good car there.
That's good. Is it what could possibly be a car anyone could buy today, like a new car that could possibly ever become a classic, or is it over? Can classic cars continue?
That's a very difficult question, especially now.
I'll be right, sure.
A lot of this, as I said earlier in the program, Emma, emotion comes a lot into what people buy. And you would be very surprised, someone buys a car and they say, my nana and pop had a car like this when, I was growing up, and I just had to have it because it was the same colour. They didn't really care, within reason what they paid for it, but it was just because it brought back good memories for them. So that has a lot, to play as well with people.
Are you finding different kind of personalities go for different types of cars? You mentioned the kind of the muscle car. Are you finding there's a certain type who'll go for a certain type of car?
Look, not really. It's very across the board. I don't know if you had a look at the cars in the sale today, but we had a 1978 Holden Sandman panel van in the sale.
Yep.
Been fully reconditioned, beautiful. We all know the stories of the panel vans of the day. And this older couple, they actually came in and looked at it this afternoon. And, I was talking to the husband and wife, and I was probably being a little bit rude and probably talking more to the husband. And he said, my wife wants it. I don't really want it. But she
you were doing a sexist thing of talking to the man about the car, weren't you?
I probably was being a little bit more focused to him, yes, and, rude of me, but not on purpose.
Look, in my particular marriage, it's the right thing to do to talk to my husband about the car. But I know a lot of women who know a lot more about cars than their partners. I'm the one that's like,
Absolutely. And,
what colour is
this lady
it?
today, 60, she was 6, they were 65, both not long retired, and she said, they obviously did courting in a panel van, and she just said, I want it, and I don't care, we're buying it. That's what she said to the husband. So, we get a lot of women. There's
Did they get it? Did you say they bought it, or has it?
No, look, it was still going when we went on air, so I don't know who's ended up with that.
Yeah.
But that car, that was near $100,000.
Wow.
So there's plenty of people out there that buy these cars, and you just wouldn't expect them to buy them.
We're talking with Bill Freeman. He's head of classic cars at GraysOnline. Bill, we started off talking about this car that's gone for $300,909. It's the 1973 Ford Falcon XA GT Hardtop RPO 83 manual coupe. Now, do you think part of the appeal of this car was just the state it was in? You know how people love to buy a property that's really run down? Do you think that there was a bit of sort of mystique with all that chicken coop, and did it make it worth more? Because it had
probably not necessarily the condition of the car. It was more the story of the car. As I said earlier, a lot of people had tried to buy the car over the years, and the gentleman just would not sell the car. So it commonly, was referred to as the chicken coop car throughout Australia. And I really think that the gentleman that bought the car from South Australia, it was very appealing for him to be able to come out, once he does a little bit of work to the car and saying, well, look, I now own the chicken coop.
Yeah.
So I really think that had a lot to do.
Yeah.
More than it was a genuine barn find car, but it was more, 32 years in hiding. It wasn't really in hiding because everybody knew about it, but had been unsuccessful in trying to buy it. So that's where I think, some of the value came in for some of the people bidding on it as well.
So you think that this new owner will get it back on the road and drive it around and go, I'm driving the chicken coop car? Is that the dream?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And how do you get it back to that original colour? Is it a case of cleaning it, or are there special paints that people find to get?
Yeah, look, I think what they'll do some rust repairs on there. The majority of the external parts of the car are okay. So it's not going to probably take too much externally, and they will try and just colour match the paint, and when they finish, you won't even know that it's been repainted in some areas.
Do you think there'll be people lining up to do the work on this car? Are there that many enthusiasts out there that'll want to be involved in its restoration?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. As I said, there's probably not a more famous GT Falcon in Australia than that car.
Yep.
So
yeah, and then
I just can't wait for, when it gets back on the road, the amount of people that, will want to see the car. And, look, I'm sure the gentleman will be, Gordon will be looking down from up above and saying, wow, great job. I plan to do that. And unfortunately, he was quoted as saying that time got away from him. So,
the project that didn't happen.
It's just a great story. And, throughout the journey of us selling the car, we've spoken to literally hundreds and hundreds of people, all from different walks of life. And they all referred back, to Gordon, the owner, and said, we hope that if we buy the car, that he would approve of us owning it. So, there's a lot of probably sentimental value and the story to the car, which will continue to live on, which is great.
Look, it's a really great story. In terms of this, in terms of what it's fetched at auction, do you think it'll keep going up? If this went back on the market in a couple of years' time, do you think it'd be likely to fetch even more?
Look, I very much doubt it'll go down, put it that way. And certainly if the current trend continues, yes, it will increase in value. If you think back to what in 1974 was roughly $7,000. So, the car is sold for probably 45 times more than what it was worth brand new.
I've got another question for you. I've been pretending I know about cars. I think you can probably tell. But is it coupe or coupe?
Coupe.
Coupe. And that's why it's
If you call it a hardtop, you won't get into trouble.
a hardtop, okay. Is that what a coupe is, a hardtop?
It's a hardtop.
Ah, okay. There you go. I didn't even know that. Well, that is interesting. I have heard people call them coupes, though.
Yes, yeah.
They're just wrong.
I think generally it's a coupe, and it was certainly fitting with the story, with the chickens, etc.
Yeah.
And the chicken coop, it just went hand in hand, didn't it?
Thank you so much, Bill, for spending a bit of time telling us about the chicken coop car today.
Look, no, that's fine. As I said, if your viewers want to keep an eye out, they're looking for a car, more than welcome to give me a call. During this unfortunate pandemic that's going on, what else could you do but, jump online and have a look? What's very amazing also, Emma, is the amount of traffic flow.
Yes.
Pre-COVID, we were getting about 1.2 million viewers a month. It's increased to 2 million.
So a lot of window
just
shopping as well.
amazing.
A lot of people dreaming, COVID dreaming of the car.
That's right. So, look, if there's certainly not another chicken coop car around, but if anyone has anything out there very similar,
an 81 Corolla.
Maybe we can do another story later on.
Thanks very much for your time today. Thanks, Bill. Bill Freeman there, head of classic cars at GraysOnline, telling us a bit about the car known as the Chicken Coupe, the 1973 Ford Falcon XA GT Hardtop RPO 83. Just been sold just in the last hour for $909,000. Coming up, what do universities do when they can't have an open?
What's me Corolla worth, Bill?